냠제 전부도 유미종 요는 전부가 자다 다그러 다른 전도 실문도 스톰마도 제잔라기 숑살.
To liberate sentient beings, please generate the Supreme Bodhicitta before we start today's teaching.
Cartendo namjo gombrane berti shi yana chapdo chapndo la chushi jan continue mon barna para charte te jean de janvier on danam gombre shi parapto tobo teni meti ton lande rapto shone gombalane de semse chi benjitem bi chepar fande gombre shi barnga tobo gombre shi barnga tobne samba dan ngono dakale janam shi be dakayon dan kan ma tobo Dāna karab sambran rōgō rngō dāna shirab chōng zhāng tōkba chōng ārte dāna milōng dā kiro nyāmbō wōg chōng tēr tēr tōn tērik bārshā tē huyan dā shibā tē tōn dā ndar tēr tāgō wōg chōng milōng jīb shāwā tē nā semchen rōwār ngīn kōrā nā nē bār nām jī tsig lā tāg tē yāng tāg bā tāng bī chū mā shī zhāng nyōng mōng bī mēn bā mēn nāk kē bā tē tāg lā rik bē dōng bā Tētāk mārik bēr dōng bā wō, mārik bēr dōng sō, mārik bēr dōng bē, ndab shida sō, ndab shida sōg sō, ndab shida jī jian jī māng dāng zīg nē, tēb zhindā dēngar jī pōngbō chīmbō bājik bā tī wār dām jōng rān gyō rō, tēr mārik bēr dōng tē zim zhin kō rā nā nē bā nām lā yō, tēb zhōng shak bē tīg jī kē dā nē, Kāngsam lēndē jiāng wāq chīk bī pāb, shiāmbāb zhīndā, tīk jī chīmbō kē nē kāngsam dāq shāg dē, samchir nam kōrīng kōrā nā, kiam zhāng nyōmōng bē tē dāq lāng kōrā lēb shiong rā yāng dāq bā chir tā wāb zhīndā mā shī bā tē dāq chōng dāng dē jī shirab jī kiān jī gzīg sō. Zīg nē jiāng samchir dā dāq ngō nō kē wāb shī bē, zhīr dāng chōng wā lāng dō chīg chōng wā, zhīr dāng chōng lāng dō chīg chē wā dāng, dō chīg chōng wā, ngō nō kē wāb shī bē. Ngō gyāb shī bē, zhirdāng chōngwān dō chīg chēwān, dō chīg chōnglā zhirdāng chēwā, kāchīg shirab chōngwā, kāchīg khēbā dāng, kāchīg yōngsur māñjāng tāqbā. Dāng kāchīg lōqbar tāwām kēnē, semchīn tē dāglā tēb zhīng shīqbā tāwlām kēbē, tāqbā samdab shādō, tēr tēr chir tēr chōng chōng chīmbō tē tōm ngōmbar shī pār ngā dāng dāng zhāng mīg nāmbara tāqbā tēb zhīng dō shāng chīb sāng hui. Shāngchib dā semkī nē mērkī bē chūlāb zōpa tōm nē blā nā mē bā yāng dōqbar zōpa shāngchib tōm ngōmbar zōpar sāng gyawar tāgō tēlār mān chīmbō ndō chir tāwāb zhīndā tēv zhīng shibar tāgō mī lōng chir tāwāb zhīndā ākhta mē kār dōngba sem zhīndā tāgō lōng dāng chī bā wā kān chir tāwāb zhīndā ndō chik dāng zhīr dāng dāng tā mī dāng ār tāwā chik chir tsāg nī sāng gyawar tāgō chir tar mān Shmanurna chirtarmanna vjibo tertar tombanya dom samame par mombame pam ningal lende pirgur tago chirta var mannam tangve tertar narapta java tevjandar nambar tarur gor tombanya tang samame padang mombame padang gombe marik banga prashit chang Marik bangak ben davshidan ga ne tevjandar dungar ji pongbo chimbo bajik tiwar dang ga parangirde tevjandar ti simg gewa la yang mang ne dikba la yang mang ne chirtar milong ga mugum thongwa tevjandar mukim thongwa tevjandar nyantu dang rang sang ji ji takba jandav ta wo kori nyom mo be jamba chujan nyom mo be jamba ler nabra churde khangsam jin ruwa chigle rapta tarde Tī shiran nyantu ji thagba jan ji ndar tar shi ne ndar kachim ngumbar zobar sang jabar shawi chujan me te Dāgnam nyingan lende ba tobo ji zero tevjan shakbe te la churton de kanga tsena chu tamchit mato ba te lem nyingan lende ba kala yo chi tevjan shakbe te la shanchib tab tsada te Shanchib ji sem jenen gorwa la yang mane bam nyingan lende ba tobar yang mangyo ro Tī kansam dar tone chok jinjik tenji Chok jinjik ten tongba dang chirwar tawa dang dimar tawa dang manwar tawa dang mugir tawa dang chokcha dang chu tamchit marke ba dang mangak ba dang mabchang ba dang machurwa dang mambayang mayin ba dang naway mayin bam tonggo ganga tirtir chu zabmam tongwa dang tuba Kangsam tamchit na gangwe semjin ji samba dang muba tatat ba mam tongwa tsirkim tonggo Teneb chondin de ji ti dong jebar shachang siksib chapan da tak Kapsardo chirtur nyamar dawi godo yondan dandang dikjin gi malam nyambra ramchar de telar kejam jawa med devjang shakbasi sherib godo nyumba nyamar dawa vjan lhanjing chapa me parana semjan tamchit number der chirtar kamno der zam kan gi jambam somber shiba da tele nut kirala waram goma mardan che yana la masan da kachi jo yisnut kir kambar na chik teblan der zam kan gi na nut shi chirtar ngubob chik ba vision dinner Notiang susur to devjan semjin shepchag meda tatad muba devjan shag tagba tatad raftonja tagba sangye tagba di korun korlo mishibim nyangan deba shimayan churnam dagnyat nampangjang stombar kangdag namshiba kangdag sang dipchundan dipshanchib yangdag nyat shi yangdag nyat sherib mebra marda be tena rangjir jigyang sha stombar shinir namtar va Tēnā ñāntu ñitta zhīg chūrnam tamchir tōqba nā yāngdag zōqba sāngye yīn chirtar mīlōng lālē nā nirdāg zādāng karma tēmām tōngwē ndirkit jīg zignar nāmbā kīnmē jīg māmbā chīmbō mīlōng lā ñāchī chīmbō kīnī sī kīngar lā sōnī kīngar lā tē sōng tē kīn zāg thirwa thākar sōngwā dāng kā tōq rōkin nirdan bā tēlā sōqbīr nāvzhī dāg rīlir māyāng kīnī tē Tene te tagrabta jar kachik lan su jamche kachik lan devjin gjan yanlag yangda kapse jig milong la na rabta tong te muktop nirda tang karmar namlam tonga karmar nam tong karma gzarnam tongran jir mashi penar ngon mejang tena tertar sembr jir Devjin semchin mishi tse milong dra taga ndana kur jikten temjong kurlo mishi be dungur jiwo lamdan jir devjin mishi mungba ye jikten dana kanji jikten dana kanji mcho mamba chimbo devjin shagar nyang jir daga nyeda darab shong te tomba tawlam kebe na tena tambi chusha de lana me bayang dago shiva tagba mambara jikba la rimbe shirvam jangwa yang Varmataka rapta shadan kurun jiktin shanchib kyang janda rapta shapa yana kangsim lenam jongwayi nyantur namgi ndartar shi nyan deba chimid zhe daka rapta topnyambe chukin kongda chikirne manchim nyan deba toba changchung chirnam tela na nyan jeshinda kyenesi tela mebab lumbo kyodo ishi janda dagmasim Gangsi kyodna kangbayi nangdan dikbar kirwa na shirur tagna kangyo ba shirib chung kyodmashi gangajig nangnan dikba di shidang ma shi shirur ji shifsha tatong mashi na shichung kyodni kala shi huqzir nga tsam vartak drakang shungwa te tag jing teng tubar mani na tewe rangwa zhanchir mu Devi rongwa zanchir mu, kyola kangdak sem, kyola kangdak nisem danga devjan jandak shamba yang kyoji tedag shimani. Jibshir kyoji ngargir danga jangchak zamdan rona yang, kumba warmu dromani, kumba mawran dromani, mayi ngarlanda jibshionwa, tedag tema takdab jida, salam ngonshi, Ndarnga yoda tetar tamchida shi jibsha, kyo nuktamig maa shibe, dagana tamchida shi jibsha, tamchin kimbar kyondodna, ndartar mgumbar shiba, abjaba, mgumbar shiba, tendrabna, gumbar rabda, gumbar rabda nam, gumbar nezang nam tagcho, Sambra jarte ti kyodo ngombra jiba tobaran gira tonug zon gombra ter zon te shandam nyambra jagbra sem ngombra jiba nga tobrte rambur mo togo yondanar dana tevjin nyantu tamji kya nyan deba toba ndo shi jebar gerwa te tagla nyan mandi ti ngar so gang tsiranda sombe na samji namji tapndir te tamjim kimba maqto bar nyan da dorsom shi tiksam ye shim tayi ba par chenji gewa dang tomba ne dang chanma me mumbar number bawa ne shangju sam dang janda ga yang nyan da ran jowi chu chambyan ne Nambab je devar namz kamjo ba semchir namnan dervi shir changchom chuk grab to jut manum gimi ram jan dan ton Chang, Nyangbo Mepa Cheshang, Pong, Chakchatang Nayam Tsong, Tsongbarana, Ganga Churnam Rapshi, Zhang, Kamaksama Lhaba, Kaksam Lhama Mali Bara, Te Ramshin Shibara Yang, Jangba, Jang Medar Nam Chur Mepa Yim, Nyang Depa Mashiso, Chukan Tongzham Nyamba Te, Tato Yerme Dagnato. Dedek la nomor togde chu na gang yang tong me da na chu jir ke na mali bar shirip chimbu tim tong tagbaq sam de yod me den da na tagbaq chik bu yod chu ganam nyam ste tam che de nyam jang nyum de tag de nyam ter ter rigne jiwa yi mancham nyang da wa shi dam bi ju ba ma kar boler man ji le ger ter nga pa wo.
We finished reciting the section on transmission for today. You haven't actually turned off your mobile phone, have you? Please turn it off, okay? Just turn it off for at least an entire hour. Let's, as we move forward, continue with today's lecture. It's best to mark this spot for today. After some time passes by today, I might gently remind you once again earlier we extensively used verses to provide a thorough explanation. It should have been the highly respected Venerable Kashyapa. Now let's continue our discussion right away. Next, the Buddha said this to Venerable Kashyapa compassionately here. The Tathagata subdues all sentient beings equally and impartially without discrimination whatsoever. No matter what kind of sentient being it is, whether from the east, south, west, or north directions, whether close friends or relatives closely or even enemies. In fact, the Tathagata actually has no real enemies indeed. No matter what kind of sentient being, he subdues them all equally. He doesn't think, this is my good friend, this is my relative, or this is someone from my hometown. Not like us ordinary worldly people at all. Actually, for a true, genuine Mahayana Buddhist practitioner, they have the profound wisdom to treat every single sentient being equally and impartially without bias. The Buddha told Venerable Kashyapa, for example, the bright and radiant light of the sun and the moon actually illuminates the entire vast world, reaching every corner. In all directions, east, south, west, north, and the four corners, it shines universally and equally. In the ongoing process of shining, for instance, when the radiant sunlight extensively reaches every single place, some sentient beings diligently do good and wholesome deeds, while others unfortunately engage in evil and unwholesome deeds. However, regardless of whether they perform good, evil, or unwholesome deeds, their actions have consequences. The light shines on them all the same. Some, from the perspective of sentient beings, may have a higher status, while others have a lower status. Some live in higher places, some in lower ones, such as ordinary butchers who might engage in the daily slaughter of animals for sustenance, or various sentient beings who commit truly evil and malevolent deeds. Some of these beings may emit a truly pleasant and delightful fragrance, while others, in stark contrast, possess a truly foul and utterly repulsive odor. This applies to other things as well. Or, in terms of their own identity, some are relatively clean, some are rather dirty. This can be clearly and easily understood in this particular way indeed, right? No matter what specific kind or type of beings they may be, the brilliant light of the sun and the gentle light of the moon shines down upon them all equally and without discrimination. There is absolutely no partiality whatsoever in precisely where this universal light chooses to shine. There is truly nothing of that nature or kind to be found. In the same way, the Buddha told Venerable Kashyapa, the Tathagata, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, the all-knowing, the wisdom of all knowledge, the radiance of his mind, the radiance of the Tathagata's mind, actually shines brightly upon all sentient beings in the 5 realms, all those living beings who are reborn and take birth within the 5 realms of existence. It all truly depends on their own individual understanding and personal faith, which naturally differ from person to person. Whether it is towards the Mahayana, the Pratyekabuddha vehicle, or the Śrāvaka vehicle, indeed everyone possesses different kinds of faith. Regardless of these diverse and varied kinds of faith, the enlightened Buddha teaches them all equally, imparting the profound and true Dharma to each and every one of them. It's just that their inner understanding and acceptance may differ. It's just like we mentioned earlier about the sunlight shining brightly and clearly. Some places are higher, some are lower, but the sunlight shines upon them all the same. It's simply that the sunlight received at lower places and higher places may simply be quite different. The Buddha, according to their individual understanding and faith, has already taught them the true Dharma. He guides them equally, accompanying these sentient beings in an equal manner, perhaps not turning the wheel of Dharma, but rather guiding them along the path. The profound meaning behind this is that he shares with them all things equally and without discrimination. In this intricate and sacred process, the wisdom of the Tathagata is actually neither increased nor decreased in any way. He did not give more to the Śrāvakas, who are the hearers, or to the Pratyekabuddhas, who are the solitary enlightened ones, nor did he give especially more to the Bodhisattvas. From the perspective of the Tathagata's wisdom, it is just like the light of the sun and the moon, neither increasing nor decreasing. There is no difference in this regard. He enables them to accumulate the merit and wisdom needed as resources. He allows them to gather or generate the resources of merit and wisdom. So here it is clearly explained that in actual fact, each and every sentient being simply possesses different capacities and varying levels of understanding, whether it is the profound blessings the Buddha graciously bestows upon us, or the powerful spiritual siddhis he generously grants us, or the power he gives us. There is no real difference in wisdom, compassion, or power. As stated in the Sutra of Contemplation on the Mind Ground, the Buddha's sun radiates 1,000 rays, constantly illuminating the world, benefiting all beings and liberating those with the right conditions. The Buddha's light shines upon the entire world, 1,000 rays illuminating all corners of the earth. He constantly benefits these sentient beings, but the way he liberates them is for those beings who have the right karmic connection. Those without such a spiritual connection cannot see the Buddha's compassionate radiant light clearly, just as the blind cannot see anything at all whatsoever. These poor sentient beings without such karmic connection, unfortunately, they cannot perceive the compassionate light of the Tathagata. It's just like a blind person who simply and truly cannot see the world around them at all. The light of the sun, moon, and stars in the world outside here today. Therefore, we should actually clearly understand that the blessings the compassionate Buddha bestows upon us are truly equal for all sentient beings everywhere. It's just that our own faith is insufficient, our own wisdom is lacking, and when our own merit in various aspects is inadequate, the blessings we receive may not be the same. This is not only the case with the Buddha, in fact it is also true for compassionate masters. Every single time they truly manifest and turn the sacred Dharma wheel, it is precisely the same. They always universally turn the profound Dharma wheel for all sentient beings, for all beings. This profound truth could also be clearly seen with the great masters of the past throughout history. Every time they performed an empowerment, every time they transmitted the Dharma, all those disciples who possessed the right karmic connection would receive the turning of the Dharma wheel together equally. But once the master departs, in reality, some people have received a great deal of Dharma, while others perhaps may not have received as much profound Dharma. Recently, at our esteemed Duomang Monastery, there was a truly remarkable living Buddha named Yangtang Rinpoche. The day before yesterday, or perhaps the day before that, he manifested parinirvana. He was actually a truly remarkable, great accomplished master. I had always thought of inviting him to give an empowerment and establish a connection with us here at Vajra Demon Taming Land, but because he was abroad, he often returned only for short periods of time, so it never truly happened. I never really expected that he would pass away so very soon. But he was quite advanced in age. He should have been 88 years old. It seems there was only about a 1-year age difference between him and Khenpo Duba, a revered spiritual teacher. So sometimes when I look at the masters, it seems that, especially in today's rapidly changing world, these venerable, elder, great accomplished masters and highly realized spiritual teachers are passing into parinirvana one after another. And as for the newly emerging eminent monks and great masters, there don't seem to be that many. Sometimes it truly feels like the actual number is decreasing rather than steadily increasing. Many of these truly compassionate, incredibly wise, and highly accomplished masters, especially in recent years, it seems that every single year, many of them unfortunately pass away. Sometimes when I truly look at this vast and complex world, actually, those individuals who are currently living in this world now, from a certain perspective, it should be said that the early 21st century and the late 20th century was an era when many truly remarkable eminent monks and great masters of Tibetan Buddhism was an extraordinary era when these great masters appeared in the world. I don't know if there will ever be such a time again in the future. For example, masters like Dujom Rinpoche, Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, His Holiness Kyabje Penor Rinpoche, and so on, as well as many truly extraordinary great masters from India and Tibetan area. Some of us may have had the karmic connection to meet them, while for others we have only received the blessings of their lineage later on. We never had the chance to meet them in person. Actually, every one of these masters appearing in this world, whether they turned the wheel of Dharma or not, whether they bestowed empowerments or blessings upon others, all of these are limited in time. It's just like people in the world who go to work. When the time comes, they retire or they move to work somewhere else far away permanently. That's exactly how it is in real life today. Impermanence can arise at any given time suddenly, even between close teacher and disciple unexpectedly. So, regardless of who you are, when the masters are sharing the reign of Dharma compassionately, you should have a deep sense of longing and truly yearning for it yourself, and actively and diligently and earnestly strive to obtain it. Otherwise, one day, when the master has already departed from this world and is no longer present, and in this world you won't even be able to find a single fingernail of the master. Even if you travel all over the entire wide world, I'm afraid you still will not be able to find it. At that particular time, if you have some teachings and pith instructions in your mind stream, you may have the courage to go on living. Otherwise, it's just like with other worldly matters. You'll be exactly the same as an ordinary person who has never received any teachings at all. That would really be quite a bit of a pity. So when the enlightened Buddha appeared in this world, he also generously showered the profound Dharma rain equally and compassionately upon all sentient beings. It's just that sentient beings have different capacities, so what each person receives is of course not necessarily the same. Even within the same group, if we are nurtured together, some people truly receive a great deal, while others receive only half as much. Some, in fact, not only fail to receive anything, but even end up creating a lot of negative karma. This is a common phenomenon that we often witness ourselves in our daily lives. The Buddha told Venerable Kashyapa that there are not truly three vehicles, but rather it is only because sentient beings act differently, and due to the differences in their actions, that the three distinct vehicles were established. Thus, he clearly set forth the three profound vehicles of Śrāvaka, Pratyekabuddha, and Bodhisattva. At this significant time, Venerable Mahakashyapa, the one endowed with the wisdom life is what we often refer to as long-lived elder in the scriptures, meaning someone who has attained a certain longevity. In some scriptures, the term long-lived is frequently mentioned, such as Tsarong Damba, meaning long-lived. Some refer to him as wisdom life, while others respectfully call him venerable. In fact, he is truly an elder, someone with profound great virtue and exceptionally high esteem. The venerable and highly respected Mahakashyapa, the one endowed with the wisdom life, then addressed the Buddha saying, "World-honored one, if there are not three distinct vehicles, then why is it that in our present real life, the three vehicles of Śrāvaka, Pratyekabuddha, and Bodhisattva have already been established? You just said there are no three vehicles. If there are no three vehicles, then why is it that clearly in our scriptures and treatises, the establishment of the three vehicles is present in all of these? Why is this so?" he asked in this way. At this particular time, the Buddha himself told the Venerable Mahakashyapa, the one endowed with profound wisdom life, that originally there are not truly three distinct vehicles, But in reality, it is also entirely possible for the enlightened Buddha to skillfully establish and present the three distinct vehicles of spiritual practice in front of various different sentient beings. The profound analogy for establishing these three vehicles is also remarkably apt and insightful. He said, for example, consider there are numerous earthenware vessels such as pots. They are all fundamentally made from the same basic material, which is clay, these humble yet essential earthenware vessels. But among them, they are all essentially the same, identical. For instance, in a factory workshop, a dozen clay pots are carefully made by hand. They are all of the same quality material, made in the same exact factory location today. They are all exactly the same. But among them all here, some become special containers for sweet white sugar specifically. Some different particular ones are carefully used to hold rich, creamy, smooth butter. Whether it's commercial margarine or rich traditional yak butter specifically, they are all butter containers used for storage purposes today. Some are specifically used to hold fresh milk or various dairy products safely. Some are used to hold aged cheese properly. Fresh milk and aged cheese can both be included together in storage. Some might be used, for example, as small trash bins, or for example, as containers for unclean waste materials and such as. But if you look at the containers themselves as a whole, they are all made of clay. There's no difference between them. They are all of the same quality, produced in the same factory. But because of what is put inside them, some containers hold very clean things, such as delicious cheese, while others hold items that are especially unclean, perhaps some truly impure substances. Depending on precisely what specific items are carefully placed inside them, each individual container is designed to receive and hold different things. So based entirely on the particular contents that are situated within, the container can then be strategically placed or meticulously set up directly in front of these corresponding items. So here we really need to fully understand that actually when it comes to the teachings of the Buddha, the power and compassion given to everyone is exactly the same. It's just that we sentient beings, some of us may have faith and understanding in this regard, while others are just like the example we mentioned earlier. Each sentient being's Tathagatagarbha, or Buddha nature, if we talk about Dharma vessels, they are like the clay vessels talked about, identical, but what is inside is different. It's just like in our world, some people study Tibetan Buddhism, some study Theravada Buddhism, and some study Chinese Buddhism. If we talk about equality, for example, if these three distinct forms of Buddhism were considered completely equal and indistinguishable, what is contained within them would also inevitably be of many different colors and various shapes. So what kind of thoughtful and appropriate mindset should we consistently cultivate and maintain? If our faith in the Buddha is truly the same, the blessings we receive are indeed also the same. It's just that we sentient beings in our very nature often always possess some inherent sense of discrimination, a discerning faculty that shapes our perceptions. Therefore, whether we are diligently praying to the Buddha regularly or assiduously and frequently reciting sacred mantras, in this way we also receive blessings equally. So among us sentient beings, it doesn't matter, oh, I am Tibetan, if I pray like this, maybe it will be very good. I am a proud Mongolian, and also I am Han Chinese. There is no difference among sentient beings in terms of ethnicity. There is no difference in terms of nationality. No matter what you are, as long as you have faith, you will receive it. The Avatamsaka Sutra says, if one can think of the Tathagata even for a moment, even a single thought has the power of merit. If we think of the Tathagata for just a moment, even for an instant, for a very, very short time, one will forever be completely free from all evil destinies eternally, and the radiant sunlight of wisdom will effectively dispel the darkness of ignorance completely. Sometimes we should sincerely recite the Buddha's holy name and carefully visualize based on our own personal strong faith. This is also the profound and true value and meaning of obtaining a precious human body. I truly think that as devoted, sincere Buddhists, at the very least we should have faith in the Buddha, If we do not have faith in the Buddha, we may not be any different from ordinary people in the world. It seems we don't even have a sense of reverence for the Buddha. We don't recite his name in daily life, nor have faith in his merits. If we don't have faith, it's pitiable. Therefore, no matter our status, as long as we pray to the Buddha, there is no difference. I've mentioned this before, haven't I? His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok is truly a great Bodhisattva who has attained realization. He manifests the profound and benevolent appearance of a spiritual teacher before us, sentient beings. Whoever among us prays to him will undoubtedly receive abundant blessings and spiritual strength to varying and appropriate degrees. Some of you may have met the Guru, while some have not met the Guru, and when we pray we often think to destroy our attachment to the 8 worldly concerns, and may our spiritual practice be fully integrated with everything that we know in this entire lifetime. When we pray in Tibetan Buddhism, we often say, may I eradicate all of the 8 worldly concerns, and may I practice smoothly and effortlessly. And this practice should be a long-term commitment, lasting throughout this life or even life after life, so that I may become a true practitioner. The result of such practice is to benefit countless sentient beings life after life. We should also visualize and actively make aspirations like this a significant part of our daily lives. This practice is also incredibly beneficial. Here we are specifically talking about how frequent and consistent prayer is extremely important. If you pray often and regularly, there is no difference in ritual implements. Here he explains why the 3 vehicles are mentioned. When it comes to the 3 vehicles, it is like this. There is no real difference in terms of the Dharma itself. The analogy he uses here is that there should be no real difference in terms of the ritual implements. But what is contained within them is a little bit different. You could quite put it that way. Thus it is indeed Kashyapa. Here in this profound context, the only true and singular vehicle is the Mahayana, which is widely known as the Great Vehicle. There is absolutely no second vehicle that can lead to ultimate liberation, nor is there by any means a third. Therefore, in the most ultimate and profound sense, there exists only the one singular vehicle. Venerable Mahakashyapa, who was truly endowed with profound wisdom and a deeply spiritual life, again addressed the Buddha, saying, he said, "World-honored one, these sentient beings, due to their various inherent capacities and diverse dispositions, for example, whether they are indeed Śrāvakas, Pratyekabuddhas, or Bodhisattvas, because of their distinctly different kinds of faith, for this very significant reason, when they ultimately leave the 3 realms and attain complete liberation, is their nirvana truly one, or are there perhaps 2 or even 3 distinct paths? For example, if there is a Śrāvaka, a Pratyekabuddha, and a Bodhisattva, when all 3 attain liberation, they all transcend the 3 realms. If they transcend the 3 realms, then the nirvana they realize, is it one or are there 2? In fact, we often have this question. Do the 2 vehicles, Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas, actually realize both the non-self of phenomena and the non-self of persons? This can also be understood from this perspective. So, is there nirvana of the same essence or of different essences? This is the question at hand. Venerable Mahakashyapa sometimes also liked to ask questions. And his questions were also like this. Yesterday, when I was at the elementary school, they asked me some questions about numbers. I couldn't answer any of them. Like, what exactly are the 3 essential somethings? Some of the students were deliberately trying to stump me, truly. So I said, I genuinely can't answer that question. I'm truly sorry. I said, maybe it wasn't you who asked. It was probably your teacher who asked. Maybe some teachers were deliberately trying to make things difficult. So when it comes to answering specific questions, when it comes to numbers, all I can truly say is, and so on and so forth. I could only remember one of them, only. I couldn't recall the other 2. He said, what 3 things then? How do you say the 3 things in Tibetan? I said, it's such and so on and so forth. I could only answer one of them. The other 2 items were additionally included in the and so on category. So here, when Venerable Kashyapa was asking the Buddha questions, he asked, is nirvana ultimately 1 or 2 or 3? Then the Buddha, with his profound and insightful wisdom, told Venerable Kashyapa of the wisdom life, explaining that from the comprehensive perspective of truly realizing the fundamental nature and inherent characteristics of all phenomena, nirvana should be a single unified entity. That was a very good answer from the standpoint of the essence realized, because the true nature of all phenomena, the dharma nature of all things, does not have 2, 3, or 4 essences. There is no such thing. The dharma nature of all phenomena is of one essence and one taste. So from the perspective of awakening to the nature and characteristics of all phenomena, nirvana should be a single unified entity. There absolutely cannot be 2, 3, or even more.
The Buddha, in his profound wisdom, told the Venerable Kashyapa, "Based on this very meaning, I can now give you a clear and illustrative analogy. Allow me to explain it thoroughly with a detailed analogy. If I use a comprehensive analogy to explain this concept, you should certainly understand. A truly wise man, a person of profound wisdom, will undoubtedly know what genuine liberation truly is. I will now use a detailed analogy to clearly tell you the precise meaning of liberation." Next, the Buddha tells an apt and powerful analogy. This analogy is also a story. The Buddha, the enlightened one, told Venerable Kashyapa, his esteemed disciple, "Kashyapa, suppose there is a man who was born blind from birth, a man who is congenitally blind, meaning he has never experienced sight throughout his entire life. From birth, when he came into this world, he could not see anything in it. This should be something truly innate, a person who was born completely blind from birth. Now, this individual actually thinks to himself, because when he first came into this entire world, he could not perceive any visible phenomena at all whatsoever, so he thinks this specific way and also articulates this very thought, saying, he says, in this world there are no truly beautiful forms, nor are there any ugly or inherently bad forms. There is also absolutely nothing good to be perceived or observed, nor is there anything inherently bad to be perceived or observed among all the various forms and appearances. Furthermore, in this particular world or realm, the radiant sun, the luminous moon, and the countless twinkling stars do not exist at all. In the entire world, there are also no visible things like the sun or the moon. He firmly believes that good, bad, and all external things do not exist either. And as for the consciousness that can truly see, the eye consciousness that perceives good or bad forms, these also do not truly exist at all. Likewise, the sun, the moon, and the stars do not exist either. Since the sun, the moon, and the stars do not exist at all, then the consciousness that perceives the sun, moon, and stars also does not exist. At that time, this was his viewpoint. Of course, for this blind man, that was exactly his perspective. Actually, even in our world today, there are many people who are like the blind man, some of whom cannot perceive past or future lives either. They also do not acknowledge the consciousness that knows past and future lives. They believe that karma and its effects do not exist either. They do not accept the awareness that understands karma and its effects. Such people are like the blind. They come into this world, and due to various circumstances, their education, and many other reasons, they have never seen the true nature of all phenomena. The truth in the conventional everyday world and the profound truth in the ultimate sense, there are actually many sentient beings who perceive reality in this way. Now, there is another individual, a person who is also experiencing this, who goes before that blind person and tells him, in fact, in this vast and intricate world, there are both truly pleasant and deeply unpleasant forms. They both undeniably exist in their full spectrum. And there is also the eye consciousness, which is the faculty that precisely perceives and registers these various pleasant and unpleasant forms, allowing for their distinct recognition and experience. The eye consciousness itself also exists. In the same way, the sun, the moon, the stars, and so on, these external things also exist. Moreover, the special faculty that can clearly perceive the sun, moon, and stars above, the sense faculty that apprehends them all, also exists naturally within us. When this was said clearly then, although the blind person heard it carefully, his hearing faculty was very good. Some blind people are actually quite capable. I've seen some blind run shops, and the people working there seem in some ways even more efficient than those of us with sight. They walk faster and do things more quickly in many respects. Sometimes when I really see these people, I wonder why people with perfect sight aren't happy or don't get important things done properly today. It really truly makes me reflect deeply on a lot of different things seriously and carefully. Although this blind person heard what was said, he absolutely did not believe it, because he felt that in this world, how could there be beautiful or ugly forms? How could there be the sun, the moon, or the stars? He was certain it was impossible and absolutely refused to acknowledge it. At this point, the two of them began to have different viewpoints. One person said these things existed, while the other steadfastly maintained that they did not exist at all. During that particular period, there was an exceptionally skilled and renowned doctor who possessed the remarkable ability to accurately diagnose any and every illness. Most notably, when he carefully examined this unfortunate blind husband, he thought the very same thing in his heart. Actually, regarding this particular blind person, Because of his accumulated past negative karma, which has been building up over countless lifetimes, he manifested and became afflicted in this very present life. Perhaps other individuals, whether it's this particular patient or indeed all other sentient beings throughout the universe, you will personally observe and understand for yourselves when the appropriate moment arrives and the conditions are ripe. It is believed that because of negative karma from previous lives, various illnesses and afflictions can arise in this current life. In fact, regarding these illnesses, if such illnesses occur, there are 4 types of illness that can be categorized. This is generally speaking for ordinary beings. It applies to all sentient beings. So what are the 4 types of illness? Wind, bile, and phlegm. These are what we often refer to as wind, bile, and phlegm. In Tibetan medicine, it is said that the root of all 404 types of illness lies in these 3. Greed, anger, and ignorance give rise to wind, bile, and phlegm. That is to say, wind, bile should actually be yellow, of course, right? And as for phlegm, it might refer to saliva, and also the so-called equal portions. For example, if a person's wind, bile, and phlegm are all present in equal amounts, if each individual component makes up a certain percentage, then in some specific cases, the bile-related illness may become significantly more severe. In some, the wind-related illness is more severe, and in others, the phlegm or saliva-related illness is more severe. But in some cases, all 3 are present, so it's called equal portions. So in total, there are 4 types altogether. At this crucial juncture, the dedicated and compassionate doctor earnestly desires to find an effective cure for this particular kind of illness that afflicts his patient. He diligently seeks out various potential methods and thoroughly contemplates the most appropriate and successful ways to implement them. For this specific type of illness in general, especially the difficult, tragic case of congenital blindness we just mentioned recently, most modern advanced medicines available now, all the medicines commonly used in the entire world today, generally cannot possibly cure this serious chronic illness effectively at all. Because when it comes to congenital blindness, it seems that nowadays, internationally, especially for people who are born blind, there are also treatments available. For example, some universities in the United States have conducted research, and some experiments have been done on the eyes of some very young, recently born puppies, and in the end, they can employ certain specific methods and approaches. They firmly believe that this situation is primarily due to some underlying genetic issues. After experts have thoroughly studied and extensively researched the matter, they have managed to treat some cases. But in theory, with their medical skills and technology, they need to conduct extensive experiments and detailed dissections on human bodies. However, this is somewhat strictly prohibited by law. So consequently, this research has not been very successful so far. But there are also a very small number of congenital blindness cases that can be treated. Of course, nowadays it is quite common for some people to experience the discomfort of dry eye syndrome. It seems that the highly respected Master Cheng Yen of Tzuchi also suffers from this particular condition. They say quite specifically that she is unable to cry or shed tears or something similar to that effect. Normally, with regular dry eye syndrome, some of the Khenpos at our institute have also had it for many years. Some cases of dry eye syndrome are extremely uncomfortable, causing significant distress. Mainly, the natural tears in the eyes have already dried up, leaving them feeling parched. You want to cry but have absolutely no tears to provide relief, right? This sensation is profoundly and exceptionally painful. In the past, for more than 10 years, our revered guru, his eyes, maybe it wasn't just dry eye syndrome, what exactly was it called at that particular time? He could clearly see large physical forms, but when it came to small text, he simply couldn't see it at all. So sometimes, whether it's truly great and revered monks and spiritual masters, or simply ordinary human beings living their daily lives in this vast and intricate world, there are also some particularly stubborn and debilitating eye diseases that are exceedingly difficult, if not impossible, to completely cure or alleviate. As for the case of night blindness mentioned earlier, in fact, all of the various medicines available throughout the entire world, generally speaking, this disease is hard to treat. But this astute doctor discovered that the only viable solution was that there were precisely 4 distinct types of potent medicine found exclusively in a certain great majestic snow mountain. If these 4 specific and powerful medicines could be successfully found, then after carefully compounding them together, the debilitating disease would most assuredly and definitively be completely cured. So what are these 4 medicines? They are the following 4. These are the names of 4 different medicines that grow on that snow mountain. The name of one of the medicines is, what is it? It is called Shunru Jusei Waichu, harmoniously entering all colors and flavors. Shunru here also carries the meaning of being complete or possessing all qualities. It is truly a medicine that possesses all of the forms and all flavors. It possesses many wonderful qualities, just like what we would typically call a truly delicious delicacy. A delicacy, or even just ordinary everyday food, it inherently has all kinds of appealing good colors and delightful good flavors, this particular kind of medicine. This is the first one. The second one is specifically called Jieto Zhubing, which literally means it frees from all illnesses and ailments. In Tibetan area, actually, there are indeed many such traditional medicines available. For example, Mingmu pills or Mingmu medicines specifically formulated for the eyes and various other similar preparations. Furthermore, there are also all kinds of eye drops that are commonly used from China, Japan, France, and so on worldwide today. Sometimes these are actually useless, completely ineffective, truly. When the karmic results of sentient beings manifest fully clearly, no medicine will work at all whatsoever. Just now, the first one was a medicine that possesses all colors and flavors. The second one is a medicine that frees from all illnesses. As for all illnesses, it probably refers to all eye diseases. It doesn't necessarily mean it cures all other diseases. The third one is a powerful medicine that effectively eliminates all poisons. For various eye diseases, this remarkable medicine can completely eliminate all harmful toxins. This is the name of the third medicine. Now let's talk about the name of the fourth medicine. It truly brings happiness and joy wherever you may choose to live. No matter just where you live, it gives you a kind of temporary happiness feeling, like a sleeping pill does naturally. No matter where you sleep tonight, anywhere in the world, it brings you deep comfort and peace, always deeply and truly. Some sleeping pills, in reality, aren't they now controlled in hospitals nowadays? Some people have taken a lot of sleeping pills and have actually, in fact, passed away. There are indeed such unfortunate cases. Although the term sleeping pill sounds like a rather nice name, for some individuals whose current mental state isn't particularly stable or robust, for example, those who are experiencing a great deal of profound suffering and emotional distress, like people who have lost love or lost their jobs, they especially like to buy this medicine, keeping packets and packets of it stored away so they can take it at any time. Actually, this is really not good at all. Nowadays, many young people should have a kind of energy and vitality within themselves. They should always strive to live on. Actually, we haven't really lost anything. For example, maybe you've lost your status, your job, or your family, but as long as a person is just alive in this world, there's truly nothing you can't really get over. Nothing you can't let go of. I always truly feel that no matter what challenges or situations may arise, your heart should genuinely be filled with happiness and a willing spirit to calmly and positively face it all. Even if you really have to leave this world one day, you should have a sense of satisfaction. I've lived to 20 years old, I've lived to 30 years old, I've lived to 40 or 50 years old. Think about it, that's not bad at all. Some people leave this world before they even turn 10 or before they reach 20. I've already lived to 30 or 40, that's pretty good. If you can have this kind of mindset, then you should be able to handle anything that comes your way, including losing significant things or your people around you. So sometimes it's quite the same in the Western world too. Some people are very wealthy, some possess high status, and some are quite influential. They often carry sleeping pills with them. Some people just can't fall asleep at night. Of course, there are two reasons for being unable to sleep. One is psychological. Maybe they're worried about something, or they're in pain, heartbroken, things like that. For some, it's caused by physical reasons. If it's due to the body, then it's indeed quite difficult to rely on spiritual practice or visualization alone. Especially for us ordinary people, when our bodies, for example, the four elements are out of balance. The Buddhist scriptures often mention 4 types of illnesses. What are these 4 types of illnesses? They are the illnesses of earth, water, fire, and wind. In fact, these are all forms of illness. If we want to treat them, we also use medicines corresponding to earth, water, fire, and wind for treatment. This is quite similar in both Chinese and Tibetan medicine. So sometimes we genuinely feel that we ourselves are also experiencing a certain kind of visual impairment, whether it's poor eyesight or some other related condition affecting our vision, or heart problems, or other physical issues such as these. On one hand, we think it is related to karma from previous lives. On the other hand, these illnesses should not adversely affect your long-term survival, nor should they significantly interfere with your normal daily work activities. In this crucial regard, practitioners especially need to pay more careful and diligent attention. Earlier we mentioned these 4 types of medicine. Doctors have stated that if you are able to successfully collect these 4 rare and potent medicines from the treacherous snow-covered mountains, there is a significant and promising hope for your debilitating illness to be completely cured. At this crucial point, the compassionate and dedicated good doctor immediately proceeds to the blind person's location. He felt great compassion for him, And then he was earnestly asked to embark on a long journey to the snowy mountains together with him. He meticulously thought of many ingenious ways and various practical means for the two of them to go, and very carefully planned out the entire detailed process beforehand. Then, with a determined resolve, he personally led him toward the formidable king of the snowy mountains. When they eventually arrived at that remote location, it was indeed quite a challenging and troublesome endeavor to bring a visually impaired person to the treacherous and snow-covered mountains, and not at all easy. But if he actually needed to prepare the medicine he had to bring this person along, because some methods of preparing the medicine, their techniques are rather special as well. It's not necessarily as we imagine it to be. We might think the doctor could just go to the snowy mountains by himself, since the blind person can't see anyway. Nowadays, in our cities, there are tactile paving paths for the blind along the roadsides. Even in Seda County and Loruo, we have them now. In Loruo, the tactile paths for the blind extend very far, and in those grassy areas, they're built all along the sides. And they're actually built quite well. Cities have these kinds of facilities, but the snowy mountains don't have any of them. So if he brings a blind person along, it really is a bit difficult. But maybe it's just because he needs to prepare some medicine. Sometimes they go up to the mountaintop to gather herbs. Sometimes they carefully descend the steep mountain slopes, while at other times they deliberately walk along the winding paths of the slopes, gracefully circling around the contours of the terrain, or cautiously moving sideways along the rugged mountainside, exploring every detail. After thoroughly and meticulously observing the intricate surroundings, in the end, he has successfully found and obtained all the essential herbs he truly needs for his purpose. Among all the various and diverse herbs he has carefully gathered, some are meticulously chewed with the teeth and then gently given to him. After thoroughly and completely chewing them, they are then carefully administered to him. Additionally, some are finely ground into a smooth powder using sturdy stones and subsequently given to him. Some herbs are often cooked together with other medicines, perhaps boiled into a nourishing soup or something similar. Then there are some particular items that are given to him completely raw, just exactly as they are presented. There are also some herbs that are administered through acupuncture by needling. They would pierce some holes in the body, and then, similar to how we use infusions or injections nowadays, administer the medicine that way. Nowadays, some traditional Chinese medicine practices have all sorts of methods, some of which are quite cruel, and some seem relatively... Whenever I go to see a traditional Chinese medicine doctor or a Western doctor, I always feel quite half skeptical and half hopeful, doubting deeply on one hand and hoping truly on the other. That's precisely how it is when I see a medical doctor. Sometimes the doctor seems very compassionate, and sometimes they look rather fierce. Then I start doubting again, yet I have no choice but to trust them. There's confidence, but also wrong, mistaken views. Two conflicting mindsets at play when seeing the doctor today. But you absolutely have to see them anyway, because your precious life is entirely in their skilled hands. They begin to make careful adjustments for you carefully. There are also some traditional medicines that involve the ancient process of burning with fire, like what we people now call moxibustion in modern times today, right? There are also some specific medicines that are carefully combined with other foods, with certain ingredients thoughtfully mixed together. These preparations are typically taken together with food or drink, precisely paired with your daily diet, and then subsequently consumed. You see, there are actually many diverse kinds of medicines originating from the majestic snowy mountains. Sometimes I think our spiritual practice is actually like this too. When it comes to our practice, for example, when we practice the 5 preliminary practices, we recite the refuge prayer, generate bodhicitta, and do prostrations. We also offer mandalas and perform confession. And for example, reciting Guru Yoga, sometimes we do circumambulation, spin prayer wheels, or perform life release. There are just so many practices, so many actions. It's as if the chronic illnesses within our mind stream, certain karmic imprints and habitual tendencies, all of these can be addressed. Some people say you only need to do one practice and that's enough. For some people, maybe just taking one medicine is sufficient. But for others, like those with congenital blindness, including those individuals whose blindness is related to their past lives, it may require various kinds of medicine used together for treatment. If you treat it with all of them together, it works very well. Yesterday, when I went to Dormang Monastery, I was really tired at noon. It felt exhausting coming back by car. At noon, there were a few dedicated Han volunteers from the construction project situated over there. They approached me and kindly stated that they would provide me with a treatment. So during the course of the treatment, some individuals began to gently massage my feet, some massage my hands, and some massage my head. It felt a bit like the 5 horses splitting the body punishment from the Ming dynasty. Each person was holding on to a different part. Some people started applying essential oils on top of their skin, and some were doing other different things as well. They were doing all sorts of things imaginable and creative. I didn't even truly know if it was my aching feet, my tired hands, or my sore back that was causing me pain. Several kind people started massaging me at the very same time. In the end, the overall effect was actually pretty good and quite beneficial. Then, after all that, I came back home. I said, just do whatever you want. Anyway, I wasn't feeling well, so I told them to do as they saw fit. Some of them actually had pretty good technique. It felt quite decent when they were massaging. Some people didn't know what they were doing at all, but they just used a lot of force. See, on numerous occasions, the attending physician would still meticulously prescribe a substantial quantity of various medications for him, ensuring he received the necessary treatment and care. At this particular point in time, the blind person was heavily reliant upon this specific kind of highly convenient and readily available condition. Later on, his serious illness truly did begin to significantly improve and get better. I believe this remarkable recovery is specifically mentioned and detailed within the sacred text known as the Infinite Meaning Sutra. The king of doctors, the great king of all doctors, clearly distinguishes the true nature of various illnesses, deeply understands the unique properties of medicines, prescribes medicine according to the specific illness carefully, and enables everyone to take it gladly and willingly. This means that, in actual fact, the medicine the Buddha gives to all sentient beings, first he identifies the illness. After discovering the illness, he understands the root cause of the illness. Once the underlying root cause is thoroughly found, he precisely knows how to effectively treat it. After the treatment, and once the illness is completely cured in the future, he carries out the subsequent maintenance. This is very important. The Buddhist scriptures also explain this very clearly. It's also mentioned in the Samyukta Agama Sutra. When explaining the 4 Noble Truths, the Buddha first talks about the illness, then the cause of the illness. These 4, suffering, the cause of suffering, cessation, and the path, are the same. The Buddha is the greatest among the kings of doctors, and this is also the case. This is precisely because of the corresponding conditions. Just now, that blind person was already able to clearly see forms. When he could truly see forms, when he had indeed gained sight, all things near and far, both inside and outside, including the light of the sun and moon, mountains, rivers, earth, all stars and celestial bodies, all forms, he could see all these things clearly and distinctly. Some people, after having cataract surgery, last year a few elderly people in the institute had cataract surgery. Originally they couldn't see anything. After the surgery they were so happy they started dancing. They would exclaim, "Ah, it's truly you. So it was indeed you all along, just as we had thought." And then they would add, "How absolutely adorable. It's truly remarkable. You haven't even aged a single day." So, at that particular moment in time, those elderly people must have been experiencing a great deal of joy and happiness as well. But perhaps they weren't all truly elderly. Some of them might not have been that very old at all. As for that particular patient, no one really knew precisely how old he actually was. At that precise moment he said, "Alas, I was truly and utterly ignorant." He recalled that before, when people with sight told him that outside there were mountains, rivers, the earth, the sun, the moon, and the stars, as well as beautiful and unpleasant forms, and so on, he didn't believe it at all at the time. He thought it was impossible and didn't have any faith in it. But today I have seen it all with my own eyes. Now that I've truly seen it, I can't help but believe. It's already quite clear for all to see. I've witnessed it with my own eyes, seen it directly. Now that I have personally seen it directly with my own eyes, I truly have no more doubts whatsoever. I've personally witnessed it for myself, and today I have already completely left behind and escaped the life of a blind person. I have gained the precious light, the full sight of both my eyes. In this world I am now supreme above all others. He became rather arrogant. In fact, everyone else except him already had 2 eyes, but he himself felt that he was the most remarkable person in the world. Some pitiful people, all of a sudden, immediately develop a sense of arrogance. He felt that no one could surpass him. Now in this world no one surpasses me. I have 2 eyes. I can clearly see everything in the entire whole wide world. Perhaps he was just overly excited at that particular time, truly very happy. Otherwise I don't know how else to explain it. Maybe he was just a bit foolish. He proudly stated, "No one else in the entire world surpasses my abilities." Actually, this individual is still quite all right, all things considered. Look at this person. What did he encounter first? He met a good doctor. Later, he eventually met an extraordinary immortal with the 5 profound supernatural powers. A person's inherent blessings are still very important. Some individuals with little good fortune only encounter truly bad people. The first people you meet often lead you to pick up many bad habits. Then you meet even worse people. If that's the case, your whole life will be like that. In the end, you'll be completely ruined. There are people like this. So sometimes people's blessings really do differ greatly. In the end, there was an immortal with 5 supernatural powers. The 5 powers, divine eye and divine ear. He had mental clarity and ability to recall past lives. With the knowledge of past destinies, he could recall his own and others' previous lives and the wisdom of good realization. Among the 5 powers, one is the power of miraculous transformation. He could possess this supernatural ability. When he had left, he could fly. Just like the great Vairocana in the distant past it was. This wise immortal with 5 great supernatural powers kindly told the same person from earlier, the very one who was originally completely blind but now has eyes that can see, the one who is truly unique in this entire world, that incredibly arrogant individual, that truly bad person. He said to him, "My dear husband, hello to you. You have only just gained a limited form of eyesight, that is all, but you are merely able to perceive and see external forms. In reality, you know nothing at all. You are truly very ignorant and completely lack any real wisdom. So why are you arrogant now? You have nothing to be arrogant about. You are merely able to perceive forms. In actual fact, you are quite foolish." He said, "You possess no wisdom, nor any skillful means at all. You indeed lack very true wisdom, nor do you have any understanding of how to conduct yourself as a person or interact well with others. You have no skillful means or expedient methods, nothing at all indeed. I haven't really looked at how the following part is really explained. I'm just reading and explaining as I go along." He continued saying as follows. He immediately went on to clearly state and articulate. Furthermore, he proceeded to elaborate. He didn't say good man, he said husband. You sit quietly inside your own private cozy bedroom alone right now. As for the various forms outside there in the world, there are many other different forms outside that you neither see nor truly know about at all. You also do not truly know the very good or the deepest, most intricate evil thoughts of all sentient beings. Right, it goes on to say you are quite foolish. Why is that? Because the sage with the 5 supernatural powers possesses those 5 powers himself. The following is all directed at him. You don't have any of the 5 powers. You are quite foolish. Why is that? When you are sitting inside your room, if there are forms outside, you can't see them. You don't have the divine eye. If you had the divine eye, then things outside our house. Actually, for those of us present, according to the standards of the sage with 5 supernatural powers, we here are also foolish. So, in a way, we are indeed a bit pitiable. Then he says, when you are sitting in your own room, you genuinely can't truly see or fully know what's outside the protective wall, so you are also quite foolish and rather naive. That's the first point to consider. Second, you also don't know what kind of good or evil thoughts arise in the minds of sentient beings. You don't have telepathy. Without telepathy, you don't know these things either. So you're a fool as well. That's the second point. Third, except for the 5 yojanas, yojana refers to a specific unit of distance commonly used in ancient Indian contexts, representing a significant measurement. Generally, yojana is now considered to be more than 10 kilometers, right? There are different opinions about this measurement. If it's 5 yojanas, it's over 50 kilometers. Anything beyond 5 yojanas, 50, for example, here in Seda County, in places outside of Seda County, all of the languages spoken by people, the rhythmic drums they beat, or the resonant conch shells they loudly blow, you can't hear any of these sounds either. You don't have the divine ear. If you had the divine ear, you could hear sounds from anywhere, loud and clear. But as for us now, if someone has the divine ear, that is indeed possible. Now, in cities all over the world, many people can clearly hear my voice and also see my appearance. It's just that I can't see you. In the future, it would be better if we could use something where we can all see each other. That way, I could see you all, and the classroom discipline on site would be pretty good. But in some places, I truly feel like people are constantly coming and going, not really listening to the class properly or attentively, even though the computer is always on and readily available. It genuinely feels like some individuals are doing other things at the very same time. Some certain people might even be smoking cigarettes while they are listening to the class right now. Is that really true? Actually, no way at all, right? This is precisely what I just mentioned earlier about the divine ear. If it's beyond the significant distance of 5 yojanas, you simply cannot hear it. The fourth important point is not possessing the divine vision, which is a crucial spiritual faculty. For example, the kulasha is called. This refers to the specific spectrum of sound frequencies that the human ear is capable of perceiving, which we call the range of hearing. Yes, it's approximately about 4 whole kilometers, right? Beyond just that distance, or example, at a place about 3 or 4 kilometers away, where your feet literally don't touch the ground at all, and you are able to fly directly over, soaring through the air, you simply can't do that either. You don't possess the inherent ability. You don't know how to accomplish such a task. That is the fourth undeniable truth. As for the fifth profound truth, since you were born from your mother's nurturing womb, including some of the intricate conditions inside the womb, or all the complex circumstances of your previous lives, you truly know absolutely nothing at all about them. You simply do not possess the comprehensive knowledge of past lives. So, how could it possibly be? How do you truly think you are wise in this regard? That you are so truly remarkable? You are certainly not. You don't even possess the 5 essential abilities mentioned above. How can you say that you see everything? In fact, you haven't really seen anything. Look carefully at how many different things you haven't even seen yet. You mistake darkness for light and light for darkness repeatedly. So you are truly very ignorant indeed. At this very point, the husband said to the wise sage, "Then by what method can I truly purify my karma and thereby attain the profound wisdom you just described? In your esteemed presence, relying completely on my pure and unwavering faith, is it possible for me to attain the same 5 supernatural powers as you, the sage? I really wish to have what you possess, Venerable One, all of your wisdom, every bit of it, including your ability to read others' minds, including your knowledge of past lives, including whatever divine vision you have. I want that too, because when I walk, I feel light as a feather. And walking feels so very joyful and pleasant now. So he earnestly wished to attain these great merits too. At this very point, the wise sage said to the husband, if you truly wish to obtain them, you must first let go of all worldly trivialities. Go to a secluded, tranquil valley, find a quiet, peaceful place, and live in a natural cave within the mountains. Then meditate on your own and begin your spiritual practice. Eliminate all your afflictions and truly attain supernatural powers, and you will be endowed with all virtues. He gave him this kind of profound and significant instruction, saying, if you truly and sincerely want to follow me, you can certainly go there to cultivate your spiritual path. At this particular point in time, the husband was quite obedient as well. After hearing his profound words, he immediately renounced his household life and became a monk. He felt that if he didn't become a monk, it might not be possible to live in a pure and quiet place, as the sage required, and to devote himself wholeheartedly and completely to his spiritual practice. He deliberately cut off all worldly greed and attachments and so on. Later, he truly attained the 5 supernatural powers. After obtaining the 5 powers, he profoundly realized that the regrettable things he had done in the past were entirely due to his own accumulated negative karma, stemming from various other misdeeds and wrongful actions. At that time, there was absolutely no genuine merit to be found, nor any true spiritual realization. However, now he completely and utterly understood the profound truth of his situation. Now, through his deep reflection and diligent practice, he had finally attained such significant merit. It was only at this point that he realized that previously he had truly lacked wisdom. He had very little intelligence and indeed very little insight, and was no different from a blind person. In fact, sometimes, especially at the very beginning, we may not fully know ourselves either. This is particularly true for some learned and highly educated people in the world. Only after practicing for a period of time do they realize, oh, it turns out I am still a very foolish person. Even though one may possess some worldly knowledge and so on, it is just like the blind person mentioned earlier. Although he could see forms, he had no wisdom in his heart at all, indeed, just the very same. So it is also quite pitiable and sad indeed to see. What time is it right now exactly today? Should I continue just a little bit more, or should I not proceed further? Should I continue or not now, please? Continue right then. Then I'll just give a brief and simple explanation of the literal meaning here today for you all. Then the great Buddha told the Venerable Kashyapa directly this: you should well be able to understand this analogy. Through the analogy you can grasp the meaning. Within this more expansive meaning, it can be more easily discovered that Venerable Kashyapa, the truly blind, the truly born blind, are actually those of us who dwell within the 6 realms of existence. Earlier it was referred to as 5 realms, but here it is called 6 realms. All sentient beings within these 6 realms, because they have not truly realized or fully awakened to the profound and true Dharma, and the pervasive darkness of ignorance and all its accompanying afflictions continues to grow deeply within them, therefore they can be accurately called the truly blind ones of profound ignorance and debilitating afflictions. Because this profound darkness of ignorance and these afflictive emotions, this pervasive ignorance and deep darkness, continually gives rise to the accumulation of karmic actions within the intricate 12 links of dependent origination, and due to the powerful force of these karmic actions, the entire process continues from name and form all the way to old age and death, ultimately resulting in the accumulation of the great suffering of samsara in the entire world. So you should understand that this darkness of ignorance keeps perpetuating rebirth, and only the Tathagata has transcended the 3 realms. Precisely because he has transcended the 3 realms, he saw that we sentient beings are still suffering greatly in the cycle of samsara, and thus gave rise to immense compassion for them. Just like a truly compassionate and loving father who deeply and especially cherishes his one and only beloved son, the enlightened Buddha, out of his boundless and profound compassion, willingly entered this suffering world, and within the vast and intricate 3 realms of existence, he graciously came to liberate all of us sentient beings from endless cycles of suffering and delusion. Seeing these beings wandering in the cycle of rebirth, and moreover, many sentient beings are truly unable to fully understand the profound methods for liberation from the endless cycle of samsara. Only the Buddha, with his omniscient Buddha eye, could completely and perfectly understand, know, and observe this intricate reality. He knew that these sentient beings, due to the significant differences in their accumulated good and bad deeds from their previous lives, or because of the numerous and varied virtuous actions they have diligently performed in their many past lives, some sentient beings, through their accumulated positive karma, possess a remarkably and noticeably relatively little amount of anger, but their greed is quite strong and very pervasive. Some sentient beings, due to different virtuous actions in their past lives, have very little greed, but their anger is extremely intense, powerful, and often overwhelming. Some individuals possess very little wisdom indeed, while others possess certain skillful means and relatively good wisdom, and there are also some sentient beings who are mature and pure, who are easy to guide. A brief explanation is enough. Just like sharp-witted individuals in Chan Buddhism and Dzogchen, because they themselves were like ripe fruit ready to fall, it was especially easy. A brief explanation. Oh, so that's how it is. I've become enlightened. All right, no need to say more. I'm leaving. It happened very quickly. Those who are mature and pure are like this. For some, the more you explain, the more wrong views they develop. You've explained to them for years, but in the end, when they leave, they are full of wrong views. There is no realization at all. People like this too. The good and bad karma of all sentient beings from their past lives is different. So for these sentient beings, the Buddha skillfully taught the profound Dharma of the 3 vehicles. All right, let's stop here for today, okay?
Bandara